We are doing Unit 4, Day 3, Triangle Congruence, Angle Side Angle, Angle Angle Side, and Hypotenuse Legs. Here are the reasons that sides are congruent. Given, definition of midpoint, reflexive property, and then reasons angles are congruent. Given, angle bisector, alternate exterior angles, alternate interior angles, and vertical angles. All right, let's start off with the first example. Included angle, okay? So the word included, all right, basically means between, all right? So let's smooth this out. An angle formed by two sides, okay? So it's the angle is between the two sides. So if we look at this, and we compare what is congruent, we can say this. We can go P is congruent to A, and we can write that here. Angle P is congruent to angle A. Angle side PQ right here is congruent to AB, goes with AB. PQ, AB, okay? And then we can then say angle Q is congruent to angle B. Angle Q is congruent to angle B. Then we can also say that triangle PQR is congruent to triangle ABC. Make sure that these are in order. Order matters, right? So now notice that the red here, that side, that included side, is in between those two angles. So that's why it's angle, side, angle. The side is in between. All right, let's do a proof. Okay? So now, here's your given, and this is what we have to prove. SQ bisects RQT and angle RST. Well, that's given, okay? So, SQ bisects, so angle RQT is bisected, so it's cut in half. I'm going to mark this. And then RST is also cut in half, so I'm going to mark it. Okay, so those two angles are cut in half. All right. Now, it says RQS is congruent to angle TQS. You're going to see this, and then see this word, it's going to pop up here. So that's going to be definition, okay, of angle bisector. All right. Next thing is also, these two angles are congruent. That is also coming from that reason. So that is also definition of angle bisector. That's why those angles are congruent. Okay, angle. All right, QS is QS. Well, that's easy. We can say that that's reflexive. Okay, because it's the same thing. And then finally, we can say that triangle QRS is congruent to triangle QTS because of angle, side, angle. They have an included side in between those two angles. Okay? All right, let's turn the page. Next thing is angle, angle, side. This time, what's in between is the angle. Okay? So the angle's in between. Let's look at this example. If P was congruent to A, so angle P is congruent to angle A, and then we've got Q congruent to B, angle Q congruent to angle B, and then we've got QR congruent to BC, Now we've got angle, angle, side. The angle is in between. So we can say that triangle PQR, okay, is in between, is congruent to triangle ABC. Okay? So now, next thing, let's do an example. All right, so given YZ bisects WYX and YWZ is congruent to YXZ. Okay, so here we go. This is given, and again, we're seeing the word bisects, right? So let's look at WYX that's been cut in half. So this is, we indicate that they're congruent because it's been cut in half. Well, guess what the reason for this is going to be? Definition of angle bisector. Okay? All right? Now it says YWZ is congruent to YXZ. Well, we've seen this before. It's right here. So that's going to be also given. Okay? Next thing, super easy reason, right? We've got reflexive. Both the YZ is congruent to YZ. They're both in, it's both, YZ is in both triangles, so that's reflexive. Okay, and then finally, okay, and oops, I forgot to mark the YWZ is congruent to YXZ. So now when you look at the two triangles, you've got an angle and a side to mark to make them congruent. So this is angle, angle, side. And again, angle is in the middle. Okay? Next thing, right triangle congruence. Okay? So obviously this involves a right triangle. Okay? All right? And then let's talk about this H stands for hypotenuse. Okay? All right? Okay. So now let's mark up the right angles first. Okay? So we know that. Okay? That those are both right angles. And then we know that if QR is congruent to BC, okay, and then if PR is congruent to AC, all right, then we know that triangle PQR is congruent to triangle ABC, okay, by hypotenuse leg, okay? So this is your hypotenuse right here, and this is your leg, okay? And we don't have to discuss that angle because we know that those are both right angles. So once you have a right triangle and one pair of hypotenuse and one pair of legs that are congruent, you have that HL property. Okay, so let's look at the example. It says LM and M and P are right triangles. So you mark the right angles. LMP, okay, so that's a right triangle, and so these are, okay, so you mark that. Then the next given is ML is congruent to MN, okay? All right. Okay. So you mark that as well. So now we can look at the proof. LMP and MNP are right triangles. That is given. Okay. And then LML is congruent to MN. That is also given, right? Okay. MP is congruent to MP. I love that because it's easy. You know that puppy is reflexive. Okay. MP is in both triangles. All right. And then finally, you can prove that triangle LMP is congruent to MNP by HL, okay, hypotenuse leg. All right, so there it is. Those are our notes.